Hello friends, and welcome to the 6th episode of our Chips Challenge playthrough. In making this week's episode, I made my first two recording mistakes. First, in one key moment, I got so excited about what was happening and the story I'd tell about it later that I forgot to hit this start recording hotkey. I've edited in such a way that this omission shouldn't be too noticeable, but if you catch some unexplained changes from scene to scene, you're right, something is missing. Second, when recording most of today's gameplay, I forgot to turn off the in-game music. If I play with it on, there are weird jumps in background music when I cut to move from scene to scene in editing, removing all the gameplay where nothing much happens. That's pretty darn unpleasant to listen to. To fix this issue, I've removed all the game audio from most of today's episode, replacing it with a loop of the normal Rimworld cricket sounds. If you don't hear some button clicks, event pop-up sounds, and other incidental noises, that's why. Sorry, I won't do that again. As you'll see in just a little bit, today's installment includes an event that unexpectedly raises the playthrough's narrative difficulty. If you notice a slight shift in the storytelling's crispness, yeah, I knew this change was eventually coming, just not quite so soon. I'll have a little more to say on this topic at the start of our next video. Sorry to be so vague on all the particulars, I just don't want to spoil anything. Don't worry though, this is actually a good thing for the colony, and Chip does survive. Okay then, that's enough blather. Thanks so much for watching and supporting the channel in all your various ways. It feels ridiculous to say this again, but here we go. I sure would appreciate it if you take a moment to leave a like and maybe even a comment. Let's convince the YouTube beep boop viewer increaser of this playthrough's worthiness. Again, thank you. I hope you enjoy the episode. Chip lies on the floor, recovering from his wounds, and Bebo bounces around, tending to their needs. Where have we seen this before? Oh, it's the same as every time their home has been attacked. As usual, Bebo mends Chip's bruised body. He stirs. Again, pain. Again, resentment at Bebo's non-violence. Chip croaks out, "Bebo, why don't you—" A pause. No, he thinks to himself, this is pointless. But then Bebo leans across Chip's chest, reaching toward his other arm, and something catches the eye. Bebo, why are you naked? Ah, a fine question. So many wish to hide themselves, when what they should hide is their shame. Chip ponders, thinking of his many shames. And it's for the ladies. Beneath the turban, a wink. Chip recoils. A little while later, and the two meet again, continuing their prior conversation. But don't you get cold? Only at night. Then follows a discussion of the morality of public nudity. Bebo claims Chip's concerns are predictably bourgeois. Chip doesn't know what that word means. Neither does Bebo. The wood stockpiles are low and there are still traps to build, so Chip heads to complete his daily chopping chores. Through repetitive practice, he's gotten fairly good at this work. Gone are the days of spending hours felling a single tree. With each swing of the axe, he feels his muscles tense and release. Muscles. Strength. That's never a word Chip would have applied to himself, but now it seems somehow appropriate. He proves this point by lifting and then moving their butchering table closer to the kitchen. Eliminating these steps on every trip will add up to significant time savings in the long run. Or walk. With that job done, Chip turns to completing their sandbag defenses. As he lifts the leather, he remembers Bebo's earlier complaint. He gets cold at night, but he won't wear clothes. Maybe there's another solution. Continuing his chores, working in the field, his idea develops. He needs more leather. And there's a group of monkeys up north, and the monkeys keep attacking them. Bebo hates violence, but what of preemption? Chip doesn't know that word either, but he senses an important conceptual distinction in its neighborhood. And speaking of neighborhoods, Chip barrels into the monkey's home, improving his shooting and once more gathering his skins for his plan. Time passes, work is completed, and back home, Bebo and Chip chat again, this time about games they'd like to play, billiards and chess. They apparently know of these games, but not how to create them. Maybe it would be possible to find rocks to label as pawns and rooks? Eventually. With much work for the day already done, Bebo settles onto his research stool. From this perch, he's about to make a major breakthrough about passive cooling. His diligent work and speculation has him about a quarter of the way to figuring this one out. He writes, "Traders from afar speak of heat waves. Is heat like the ocean, rising and falling?" In the evening's heat, a drop of sweat falls from his forehead, blotting the paper. Ah, nature's blessed solution to heat. Heat can be stopped with salt! So close, Bebo. In the south, Chip chases after monkeys attempting to protect his home preemptively. He sweats, though for him it doesn't have any theoretical resonances. It just stings his eyes. This pain keeps him from aiming well, which ensures this hunt will take quite a while. That gives him plenty of time to plan ahead. To begin making a bedroll, his intended gift for nudist Bebo of course, he believes he'll need 60 scraps of leather. He's wrong. It's only 40. But whatever compels him to hunt is pretty sure he needs 60. Whoops. So he hurries across the bridge, missing again, chasing again, firing again. Eventually it all works out for this round of Chip's anti-monkey campaign. Bebo notices the carried corpse as the hunter returns to the colony. He greets them both. "Oh, it's Mr. Chip and Mr. Monkey. Welcome home. I am hoping you are comfortable here." He gives a small playful bow and stretches out on the stone floor. Chip comes inside and asks quietly, "Bebo, does it hurt your skin to sleep on the ground?" Bebo hesitates a moment, then replies, "With effort, comfort can be found anywhere, even in death." Chip isn't quite sure what that means, but before he can ask, he hears gentle snoring. Chip sleeps a little less easily tonight. And then it's morning, and the two are awoken less than peacefully once more. They have no alarm clock, but they do have transport pods slamming into their rainforest. As always, they're screaming. This one sounds quite human and quite desperate, though in a different way than usual. "Whoa, what a trip! I need a fix!" Bebo knows how to fix people, so he hops up and runs to the door, telling Chip to prepare a room for their incoming guest. This woman, Jefferson for now, perhaps something else later, has tons of passion and an exceptionally valuable trait for this biome. Super immunity will keep her from succumbing to the many diseases that populate this land. She also hates men. Good luck, Chip and Bebo. And she's kind. Perhaps she always ends her anti-male propaganda speeches with please and thank you. The woman's current ideology is pretty standard for Rimworld, raiding people and eating whatever they can find. Presumably, she won't lead with that fact about herself, so let's hope our current denizens can talk her out of that behavior before she gets too hungry. There's one other important fact about this character I missed. I'll notice it soon enough. Perhaps you already have. Soon, Bebo arrives in the field as the woman continues to shout, "Aw, life like this is suffering!" Bebo announces his arrival and his agreement. "Quiet, quiet, or you'll find the peace you do not want. Not yet, at least." As Bebo diagnoses her, he notices her skin is caked with gray mud, and she's bleeding terribly. He just needs to stabilize her before she comes home with them. She groans, croaking out, "Give me the green!" Bebo shakes his head. No, there's no herbal medicine, ma'am." But he does his best at a little more doctoring, and the patient is soon enough in good enough shape for transport. To restore his strength, Bebo has a quick snack, and the patient... Oh. Bebo's eyes widen. That's not mud. Her skin is gray. Bebo doesn't know it, but she's a waster, and she's begging for psychite. If she doesn't get any, her health will begin to degrade, and eventually she'll die. The knowledge to brew psychite tea is in the first tier of research, though that's a major time investment, given how bad they are all at research. You may have noticed that Jefferson is in fact incapable. Also, none of these characters are yet able to grow the psychite plant, and why would they even do so? Bebo scoops her up, his pale flesh against her dark skin. "Welcome home, sister." He doesn't know she'd claw out his eyes if it meant getting her drugs. Then she's placed on the kitchen floor, the cleanest and most private area they have, and Bebo carries over the base's sole pack of herbal medicine. Bad Bebo, bad. He thinks better of it, knowing they'll need it for an emergency, which this definitely isn't. Soon, Jefferson is treated and stabilized and sleeping. Bebo nods at his excellent work. Having sewn up one body, Bebo turns his attention to taking apart another. He and Chip discuss their strategy. "What did you bring home?" Chip asks. "Another wanderer, someone like me, a strange friend. She seems agitated, hurt by more than her wounds." Chip nods. "Let's keep an eye on her. Talk with her." Bebo agrees. For now, even if she gets back on her feet, the stranger will remain in the kitchen. Chip decides to approach the stranger a little bit later. He'll start by telling her about what's important to him, about his beliefs and values and, well, ideology. Maybe she'll open up about hers too. As the waster continues to sleep, Chip again goes hunting, nearing the earlier slaughtered panther's den. As he walks past, he notices 2 artifacts inside, evidence of earlier life here. This thought simultaneously delights and unsettles the teen. He's not the first, but what happened to them? What would happen to him? He shakes his head and prepares for carrying the monkey's body and the 2 pots too. They'd make the base a little more attractive and remind the men of what's at stake here. If they're not careful, someday future people would find their base equally ruinous. Now, with 60 collected leather, that's right, 60, Chip sews up a sleeping bag. Bebo's distracted by the guests' continued murmurs of sigh, sigh. Perhaps it's a prayer, Bebo thinks. He knows he's often confused people with his rituals, too. Chip finishes the bedroll and moves it to Bebo's sleeping spot. Soon, Bebo notices the creation and bows in appreciation. Tonight, my body will be comfortable. And hidden. Chip nods emphatically. That night, Chip makes an initial stab at chatting with the waster. He knows her dark skin is a sign of something, but he can't quite remember what. She's definitely a human, though someone whose humanity is a little bit different. He hits on some key topics, different kinds of humans, tasty food, and vomiting. From his earlier adventure in food poisoning, he knows all about that. Jefferson doesn't respond, though her eyes brighten when he mentions xenohumans. Yes, she thinks, he knows what she is, what she needs. She'd say anything she needs to. Yes, she's increasingly convinced of the truth of his beliefs, or at least she'll say so. Returning home from an evening walk, Bebo happily cocoons himself in the carefully stitched leather bag. Chip heads to bed too, thinking he'll make a second bedroll for tomorrow. But then he notices Bebo has unexpectedly taken off his turban. Bebo's hair is white. Chip grins and squeezes his eyes shut tightly. He feels like he shouldn't know this secret, but he does, and he loves it. For the second night in a row, the camp's quiet night is rocked by other people's noises. 2 voices call out, promising to work for a couple weeks in exchange for food and a warm bed. Bebo calls back, I make excellent meals, and Mr. Chip makes excellent bedrolls. Come, come, come. Chip gasps at the foolhardiness of letting even more strangers into their home. But Bebo's already been announcing his plans for an ever-increasing sleepover in their main room. Of course there's enough room here. So here they are. First, a 50-year-old woman with fine shooting skills and amazing doctoring. She is a little on edge, but that seems an appropriate balance to Bebo's serenity. Let's call her this name, which I'm going to say is here, though I recognize it could be higher. Thanks for leaving a comment on an earlier video, and I sure do hope I'm saying your name right. You've probably noticed that this character is also so much better in intellectual matters than either Chip or Bebo. Great, that really should speed things up. Unfortunately, she's also got a pretty bad back, so researching really is the right job for her. It'll limit how much slow movement she'll need to do. And then there's the amazingly named Lawman, who's speedy and revels in pain. He's only 13, the youngest character we've ever had, other than Demu, but that hurts to think about, and he'll be a fine fighter someday too. Let's call him Paul. Thanks for your comment on this playthrough as well. Both of these new guests are adherents to the Empire's ideology, so they're unlikely to be impressed with what passes for technology in Chip's colony. Nevertheless, they may enjoy their time enough to ask to stay, or there may be problems. While Paul and Here head up from the south, a group of tribal visitors arrive in the north. It's an adult man and 3 children. He's come to show the kids how other people live. Chip again talks to Jefferson, warning her that other visitors are soon on the way. Soon there's going to be a bunch of traffic in her room. She nods compliantly and asks meaningfully, do they know anything about medicine? Chip tells her he'll ask, and then walks outside, right past Paul, who doesn't notice. Paul calls out, I'm Paul, rhymes with call, Paul. Feeling embarrassment and feigning deafness, Chip continues walking, going right past the rice and out to the monkeys. Along with the beasts here, he notices something shiny in the mountainside. It's obviously unusual, but it'd be far too lucky to have a giant protruding mass of gold right there. Noticing a monkey running past, Chip turns and fires, killing it at once. Maybe luck is finally on their side. Back home, Here has found her way to working at the research table. Perhaps it would make sense to maximize the base's research outpost by creating a place for Bebo to contribute too. Speaking of his contribution, she reads through Bebo's important research notes on passive cooling, crossing out the majority of his words, circling only sweat. She writes, quote, evaporative cooling exploits the fact that water will absorb a relatively large amount of heat in order to evaporate, end quote. What a silly man, she thinks. Though what confidence to strut about naked, and so peacefully too. She sighs happily, feeling okay here after so many days on the road. Outside, Chip constructs while Paul goes for more wood. These new workers ensure they'll be able to build quite a bit more quickly than when it was just the two of them. Chip hits a 5th level in construction, barely caught that one, and the visitors announce their plan to depart. Thanks for tolerating me showing the kids around. The visitors toss a gift on the floor. It's glorious. 2 Glitterworld medicine for the low price of not attacking the visitors. Chip gathers it up at once, dragging it inside to the storeroom. Its simple presence makes him feel a little bit safer. The 2 researchers speak in passing, here inquiring, "And what hair is under that lovely blue?" Bebo replies, "To be truthful, I only show my friends and lovers." Here blushes, stammering out, "You're wrong about cooling. It's not the salt." Simultaneously, Chip makes another discovery. He should be hunting, but he finds a brightly lit tree which calls to him with its beauty. Oh, how it glows. This plant, added in ideology, allows characters to meditate and develop increased psychic power. It's especially effective for tribal characters like Chip and Bebo. We may try to use the tree to develop their psychic powers eventually, though it's a little ways away from camp, so meditation there is not exactly great. Standing in the tree's aura, Chip returns to his hunting task, missing. This somehow feels appropriate. To do violence here would be to profane the tree. Chip wanders off, promising himself he'll return to its shade soon. To ignore the tree would be to profane it too. At base, Paul announces, "I'm Paul, rhymes with Hall, Paul." Bebo prepares to respond, but Paul goes back inside. Bebo comforts himself. In some cases, silence is the best of greetings. Somehow. As late night arrives and most everyone's asleep, Bebo remembers a holiday is soon coming. The Outlaw Fair. This is, for him, a celebration of beauty and possibility. He'll be sure to mention it to the others come morning. Speaking of morning, here's up early. It's 4 a.m. and she stomps around, annoying everybody else. This is prime time for her to progress in research before anyone else awakes to prattle on. She notes, "The temperature of dry air can be dropped significantly through the phase transition of liquid water to water vapor." And then Paul's awake, and here makes a comment about people's height. Paul nods. "I'm Paul, rhymes with tall, Paul." This wakes the others up. Chip worries he's missed an encoded message between the refugees. Are they in danger? Bebo worries he's missed an inside joke between lovers. He's been flirting with here and she hasn't noticed. What woman wouldn't enjoy a compliment about her shooting? Maybe it was a problem of phrasing. "Your arrow struck my heart like a elephant's step strikes the earth." Perhaps he'd try again later. Bebo's fully awake now, so he rises and fetches some food. He sees Hira asleep on the wooden floor, imagining how awful that feels for her, especially with her back pain. "Mr. Chip," Bebo coos, "could your next masterfully crafted bedroll be for our lady guest? We must always serve others first." Chip, still sore from his night on the hard stones, lies. "It'd be my pleasure, Bebo." Soon enough, Chip's begun that crafting, using the leather meant for his own bedroll. He's annoyed at Bebo, annoyed at Hira, annoyed at himself for being annoyed. Sure enough, the distraction leads to failure in crafting. But there are always more monkeys. This time he fights frustrated. Stupid monkeys, always attacking, always running away, always screeching, always wanting to keep their stupid skins. Stupid, selfish monkeys. He shakes his head at this ridiculousness. No, stupid me, wanting to take care of myself first. Here's a guest, and Bebo's right. Kindness to strangers is key in retaining their goodness against the troubles of the Rimworld. Stupid, selfish Chip. He frowns and continues fighting. These battles give him plenty of time to think, and there have been so many of them in recent days. He's killed so very many monkeys. All those skins went to... Chip pauses, making the connection. Why didn't Bebo give up his bed? Stupid, selfish Bebo. Now feeling righteously angry, or at least righteously annoyed, Chip returns to working the leather, puncturing small holes for sewing. Paul enters and sees Chip's tool, commenting, "I'm Paul, rhymes with all, Paul." Chip pulls his lips into an awkward smile and leaves. While the visitors eat, Bebo returns to his favorite place, the research bench. He reads through Hira's pages and pages of notes, appreciating her many diagrams and citations. The other two leave, going for a hunt. Bebo hears Hira discussing roulette, that game with a spinning wheel and a tiny little "I'm Paul, rhymes with ball, Paul." Bebo scans a few of here's carefully constructed words. The ideal cooler is made of wood. For this work, the best wood is yew, aspen, or date. Same wood can be used for alcohol of the methyl sort. Though of course here's abbreviated methyl to ME. Picking up his pencil, Bebo circles 4 words. Wood, yew, date, me. And then, more seriously, he writes, wood here primarily oak and bamboo. Good enough? And that's it. The combined ingenuity of Bebo and here, but mostly here, has given us passive coolers. With this innovation, perhaps overheated bodies are a thing of the past. But what of heated hearts? Bebo has hopes. And what of heated tempers? Chip has worries. And what if the outdoor temperatures never ever drop? Then they'd stay high. They wouldn't ever... I'm Paul, rhymes with fall, Paul. Right. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'd appreciate your taking a moment to blah blah toadying for engagement here. See you again real soon.